Good evening and welcome to the Austin ISD mock election live broadcast. My name is Jessica Jolliffe and I'm the Austin ISD Social Studies Supervisor, and I'm really excited tonight to be able to show you the results of our mock election that we held today on October the 4th.
And good evening. My name is Gretchen Nagy, and I am the Director of Voter Registration for Travis County. And we're very excited to be one of the other partners with AISD and also the Elections Division to bring this event to you and talk about voter registration and the continuing process of this election cycle.
First, we'd like to talk to you a little bit about the purpose of this evening's live broadcast. One of the reasons why Austin ISD participated in the Travis County First Vote mock election is to drum up support for everyone in Travis County making their first vote, whether or not that is a student who's in kindergarten or pre-K or a sophomore in high school casting their ballot for the first time, but also those students who are turning 18 years of age who are able to practice what it would be like to vote today on October 4th in preparation for the election on November the 8th. Additionally, one of the other reasons why we did our mock election on October the 4th is that the last day to register to vote in the general election on November the 8th is October the 11th. And so the hope was that students would go home in between mid-September and today and talk with their families about what it was like to register to vote at school, what it was like to learn about the candidates and the issues, and what resources they used to do that. And then finally, what it was like today to cast their vote in the district-wide mock election. Some of our students participated in online voting, while others used paper balloting. So students were able to go home and talk to their parents about that experience. And having been on a campus today, helping facilitate the voting, I was surprised by the number of students who said, "This is so easy. I feel so empowered. This went really quickly. I'm really excited to go home and share this with my families." And so the hope is that people's first vote today will then translate into many second, third, and fourth votes in the future. We'd also like to thank our participating sponsors, the Travis County Elections Office, the Tax Office, the League of Women Voters, and also the teachers and students of Austin ISD who made tonight possible.
Thank you, Jessica. We would like to now talk about First Vote. First Vote is a program that is a collaboration of the Travis County Voters Registration Office, the Travis County Elections Division, and the Austin Area League of Women Voters. The program is available free of charge to high schools across the county and organizations with 20 or more 17 to 18-year-old students. The First Vote team teaches junior and senior high school students about the importance of voter registration and voting. It empowers them with knowledge on how to seek out nonpartisan information on candidates and issues. Team members are also register eligible students to vote. To hold the attention of teens, the program moves quickly, taking up only 30 minutes from start to finish. Want to learn more? Please visit the website on the slide. There is more information available to download. And we have a couple of guests with us, KSL Purkis and Tommy Miller. If you would like to join us, please, at this time. Both of them are staff with the Travis County Tax Office, and they're both going to talk about a couple of issues. One is a PSA contest that was just sponsored by the Tax Office and held this past weekend with many schools in the area submitting entries. And also Tommy Miller is a GIS coordinator with our Tax Office and voter registration, and they've got a couple of items they're going to visit with us about. KSL and Tommy?
Thank you all for having me here. I wore my voter registration shoes and voting just to support all of the schools out there. Hey, we had a great public service announcement contest over at the tax office. It was supported by the elections division over at the clerk's office, as well as the League of Women Voters, and we had lots of sponsors. Now, if you don't know what a PSA is, it means public service announcement. Basically, that's a commercial. But unlike a commercial, we're not trying to sell you a product or anything like that. We're trying to give you really good information that'll make you happy about knowing the right thing to do, especially when it comes, in our case, voter registration and voting. And we had these schools, all kinds of schools out there in Travis County that participated in this contest. We had some really terrific winners showing the kind of talent that we have out there. It's really exciting because we know we're going to see some of these people as future filmmakers and also people who will go way in their careers as part of this filmmaking stuff. And we really loved it. So what we're going to do in this show is we're going to intersperse some of those winning PSAs, and you'll be able to see what some of the schools did. It'll be exciting, and I hope you enjoy them. And if you do, hey, make sure you come to the Travis County Tax Facebook page or to our Twitter account and let us know that it was something great and that you'd like to see us do something like this again. Anyway, we're excited to share these PSAs with you about voter registration and voting, and we're really looking forward, Gretchen, to doing it again. Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm Tommy Miller. I'm a GIS coordinator for the Travis County Tax Office. And my team is responsible for creating a web map which will show the results of this student mock election. I have two colleagues here that need to be acknowledged. They're the ones updating the map as we speak behind the scenes. Their names are Todd Leisure and Scott Arnam, and they're doing a great job back there. The map is basically going to be a map of the schools, and it'll be symbolized. There'll be points for all the schools. The size of the points will be based on the population of eligible voters at that school. And right now they're all going to be gray, but as the results come in and we populate the data, they're going to turn the color of the winning candidate's party. So we now see that map, and so they're all grayed out because we don't have any reports yet. However, as the reports come in, you'll see the map start to light up different colors of the winning parties.
Now, Tommy, do we intend to provide some more information after tonight on our website as well?
Yes, the map will be available starting tomorrow, and we'll have all the information on the map to where anybody can navigate, click on schools, see the actual votes from for each candidate for that school.
And as a continued education opportunity, we also are going to have turnout patterns, turnout percent. Not all of the schools voted in its entirety. Some elementary schools only had 1 grade. Some elementary schools only have 3 grades. So we did apply that because we wanted to show the accuracy of turnout patterns and turnout information. So that is what you'll see when you're able to look at our map on the website starting tomorrow. So thank you. Appreciate it. We'd like to introduce right now a welcoming message from the superintendent of the Austin Independent School District.
Hello, my name is Paul Cruz. I'm the superintendent of the Austin Independent School District, and I want to thank you for watching our mock election. Thank you, students, for participating and being civically engaged, and also thank you to all of our partners for making this happen for us. Thank you so much for all you do for Austin ISD and for Travis County.
We have our first 2 student broadcasters. One is from Hill Elementary and the other one is from Cook Elementary. And so I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So Braulio, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Braulio Mendez and I'm from McBee Elementary.
Hi, my name is Logan Markham. I'm from Hill Elementary.
All right. And Braulio, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, what grade are you in?
I'm 5th grade, and the things I like to do most in 5th grade is doing science class and math class.
And did you cast your vote today in the Travis County First Vote?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us a little bit about that experience? What was it like casting your vote for the first time?
It feel like just voting as a grown-up. Like it was giving us how, like, they were teaching us how to vote when we were older, and they're giving us experience in how to vote.
And how did you learn about how to vote? What kind of instruction did your teachers give you?
They told us that we couldn't tell anybody who we would vote for, and if we didn't want to vote for the ones that were on the script that we could write down somebody.
Oh, okay, very good. And what advice would you give to someone who said, I don't want to vote, I don't know how to vote, I don't know anything about the candidates? What advice would you give this person?
I would give them advice to search up or find out what they are, and then they can find out how to vote, and they could vote. And if they don't want to, then they just don't vote.
Okay, and if you don't vote, then what happens?
You just don't vote?
Do you have a say in your government and in your policies?
I don't think so.
No, no, you don't. That's the reason why voting is important. Thank you very much for that, Braulio. Logan, why don't you tell the audience at home a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hi. I'm Logan, as I said. I'm in 5th grade, and I just generally love school.
And Logan, I understand that Hill Elementary did a lot of really wonderful things today about the election, that your
Oh, yeah.
teachers put together something really special for you. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about some of the activities you did?
Well, we filled out voter registration forms, and that was really fun. We also had an ID to vote. There was a video made showing students saying how it's important to vote and why you should vote. And that was it.
And what can you tell us about why it's important to vote? What did you learn about the importance of voting?
Voting is choosing our country's next leader. If you don't vote, then you don't get to have a say in doing that.
Okay, very good. So that's a very good reason why voting is important. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about your experience at Hill casting your first ballot today?
I felt like it was a great experience for me. I learned how you can vote. I know that when I grow up and I'm able to vote, there are more than just presidential elections. Like, you can also vote for mayor and city council. But I believe that that was the first step in doing that, and that I got to learn a little bit about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. I'm inspired to hear that you believe it's your first step. Now we're going to have Logan and Braulio report some of our first results that I believe are coming in now.
I think right before that, we're going to do the PSA, and then we're going to bring all those results over. We have a couple of PSAs. One of them is one of the winners from this past weekend. And additionally, there's one from the Elections Division to give more information on preparing for early voting and election day and everything. So we're going to roll to that, and then we're going to have some results.
Amo la ciudad de Austin. La cultura, la gente, la diversidad está llena de belleza. Ayuda a mantener la hermosura y regístrate para votar. Involúcrate en tu comunidad y participa en las decisiones que afectan a tu familia, amigos y a ti.
Did you know that high school students 16 and older may work as election clerks? A student who is enrolled in high school or homeschool and has the consent of their principal may work on election day. Students work under the direction of an election judge. Students are trained to assist with organizing the polls and processing voters. Up to 4 students may work at the same polling place. This is a paid job, and students gain practical work experience. Election work experience is an impressive addition to a resume or college application. To qualify as a student election clerk, a student must be a U.S. citizen and at least 16 years old, be enrolled in a public, private, or qualified homeschool, and have parental consent and consent of the school principal. To apply as a student election clerk, go to our website to fill out the student election clerk application and permission slip. Send in your signed application and permission slip by October 17. For more information, call 512-854-4996.
And we're back. My name is Logan Markham, and I'm going to share a few results with you from the school's mock election.
Okay, and right now I'm not seeing any reports coming in at the moment that are popping up on the screen. Braulio, though, since you go to McBee Elementary, you have the inside track on your school's results. Do you want to share those with us?
Yeah, in my school results, we have 310 for Hillary Clinton, 36 for Donald Trump.
Okay, very good. So at McBee Elementary, you guys just voted for the Democratic and the Republican candidates. That's excellent. Thank you for that information.
For Barnoff Elementary School, we have 1,021 students. Okay. It's an elementary school. It was participating in the mock election. Hillary Clinton has 80 votes. Donald Trump has 35 votes. Gary Johnson has 19 votes. And Jill Stein has 9 votes.
We're going to go to a PSA at this time, and we will be back momentarily so we can finish hearing the first set of results. Thank you.
Hey guys, Alex texted offering to pick us up lunch. What should we get?
How about Thai food?
Barbecue.
You've got my vote. Jack, does that sound good to you?
What?
Alex texted us offering to pick us up lunch. What should we get?
Anything. I don't care as long as it's quick.
Great.
Got the goods.
Yes, I'm starving.
Barbecue? I'm a vegan. You guys remember this, right?
You should have said something earlier.
There you go.
Don't be like this guy. Make your voice heard so you don't get stuck with elected officials you can't stomach. Register and be counted. Vote.
Voting is as easy as this. After voting, it feels like this. Register, be counted, vote.
And we're back. My name is Logan Markham, and I'm here to share some of the rest of the results with you. So for Pease Elementary School, Clinton has 231 votes. Trump has 15 votes. Johnson has 7 votes. And Stein has 16 votes. Summit Elementary School, Clinton 422 votes, Trump 104 votes, Johnson 57 votes, and Stein 48 votes. For Zavala Elementary School, we have 116 votes for Clinton, 6 votes for Trump, 1 vote for Johnson, and 1 vote for Stein. At Odom Elementary School, there are 323 votes for Clinton, 76 votes for Trump, 52 votes for Johnson, and 41 votes for Stein. And for Cook Elementary School, we have 220 votes for Hillary Clinton, 19 votes for Donald Trump, 5 votes for Gary Johnson, and 5 votes for Jill Stein.
For Spicewood Elementary, we have 84 votes Clinton, 37 Trump, 8 votes Johnson, 19 votes Stein. For Baldwin Elementary School, 253 votes for Hillary Clinton, 90 votes for Donald Trump, 24 votes for Johnson, and 11 votes for Stein. At Graham Elementary School, we have 109 votes for Clinton, 6 for Trump, 10 for Johnson, and 12 for Stein. At Barton Hills Elementary, we have 340 votes for Clinton, 33 votes for Trump, Johnson 5 votes, and Stein 7 votes. At McBee Elementary, we have 310 votes for Clinton, 34 for Trump, 21 for Johnson, and 36 for Stein.
Thank you very much for that, Braulio. Next up on our broadcast, we're going to bring out Dana de Beauvoir, who is going to answer some questions for us about casting her first vote and what's important for students to know about voting. So welcome, Dana. Thanks for being here.
What was it like to cast your first vote?
I had a great first voting opportunity. And let me give you a hint about what it could go like. My mother took me to vote when I turned 18 years old because in 1971, just before the 72 presidential start of that particular cycle, I was in the first group of people who the law changed and allowed you to vote not at age 21 but at age 18. So my mother took me and she showed me everything I needed to know about how to vote. And she didn't tell me who to vote for.
Why is it important for children to know about voting?
Well, my goodness, let's think about the opposite. What if nobody went to vote? What would happen? How would we get our streets paved? How would we pay for our schools? How would we do all the things that government does to take care of us? Everybody has to vote. And so parents need to teach their children, and when children grow up, they need to teach their children all about voting because it's the way we all govern ourselves and work together. We get things done through voting.
What is your best memory of the voting process here in the USA and in other countries?
Well, gosh, the best one in the United States is always going to be our local ones right here in Travis County, and I've been fortunate to conduct many, many elections for Travis County. But probably the biggest election of my life, the one that tugged at my heartstrings the most, was the 1994 South Africa election to end apartheid. People in that election were given, the black population in South Africa were given the election to vote for the very first time in their lives, and they stood in line not just a few hours to vote, but for 3 whole days. Now, can you imagine waiting in line that long to vote? How do you think you'd feel about waiting that long to vote? It's way too long, isn't it? They were that dedicated to voting, and they were so eager and excited about voting that they took all that time, and then when the government realized that still people were waiting, they opened voting for an extra day. It was one of the most heartwarming experiences I ever saw.
Tell us a little bit about early voting and when that's going to get started and everything that's going to be going on.
Right. Early voting is going to kick off October the 24th, and it's the opportunity for everybody in Travis County to vote early. I cannot express to you how important that's going to be for this presidential election. You got to vote early. Lines are not good. And I know that we're going to have some lines, but what we want to try to get across to our voters this time around is don't contribute to the line. Get yourself out there early. Do yourself, do your neighbor a favor by voting early. Let's go ahead and take care of this. Don't wait till the last minute. Best advice is take advantage of any of the vote center locations that we have. Any place you see a vote here sign, you are eligible to go walk in that place and cast a ballot. So by all means, take advantage of voting early. And when you go to the polling place, bring whatever identification you have, because we now have new rules about voter ID. If you have any kind of photo ID, bring it to the polls and we'll do our best to make it work for you.
Dana, could you also clarify? I think a lot of people are confused on, do they have to vote at their precinct? Can they vote anywhere? Where do we stand now?
Travis County has a relatively new program. We've had it for several years now, and it's called Vote Centers, as we just mentioned. And that means that any voter in Travis County can vote anywhere. You don't have to stick to your neighborhood. You can vote at a place that's close by where your work is, or you can vote close by wherever your commute is. Let's say you're driving to the office or from the office, and perhaps you're not going to make it, home in time before or to the polls before they close. You can stop and vote anywhere along the line. So get out and vote early, and you can vote any place that's convenient for you. Vote Centers.
That's great. Thank you. Great information, and all of you can tell your friends and family. That's very easy. Yeah. Thank you, Dana, for being
thank
with
you
us.
for voting.
Yes. Well, thank you. I think we're going to take a quick break. If we can go to the next set of PSAs, we're going to go ahead and jump there real quick because I think we have some results. They're about to come again momentarily.
Todos llevamos vidas ocupadas. Una manera de hacer la vida más fácil es votar por adelantado. Esta elección presidencial tendrá probablemente el mayor número de votantes en la historia del condado de Travis. ¿Qué significa esto para un votante normal? En pocas palabras, es tener que esperar en fila para votar. Haga su vida un poco más fácil y vote por adelantado. Los 12 días de votación adelantada para la elección del 8 de noviembre comienza el lunes 24 de octubre y termina el viernes 4 de noviembre. Sitios de votación adelantada están abiertos de 7 a.m. a 7 p.m. todos los días, excepto los domingos. Al votar por adelantado, puede evitar filas largas el día de la elección. Hay 30 sitios de votación adelantada en el condado de Travis y puede votar en cualquier lugar donde vea un letrero Vote Here, vote aquí. Algunos de los sitios de votación adelantada más convenientes son los 4 megasitios grandes de votación, que tendrán más personal, más cabinas de votación y estacionamiento gratuito. Para encontrar la ubicación del sitio de votación adelantada más conveniente y cerca de usted, visite nuestro sitio web ivoteearly.com. La vida es ocupada, vote en adelantado.
And we're back. We have the next set of results that are going to be coming for the students, our student broadcasters, to read. Here they come. Thank you, Tommy. Okay.
Thank you.
We're trying to keep up.
For Blanton Elementary School, we have 281 Clinton, 46 Trump, 36 Johnson, and 45 Stein. The total votes were 408. For Gabo Elementary School, we have 258 votes for Clinton, 41 for Donald Trump, 44 for Johnson, 38 for Stein. The total votes were 381.
All right, for Jocelyn Elementary School, we have 22 votes for Hillary Clinton, 5 votes for Trump, 5 votes for Johnson, and 4 votes for Stein, for a total of 36 votes. Next, we have Maplewood Elementary School. For Clinton, we have 369 votes. For Donald Trump, we have 66 votes. For Gary Johnson, we have 9 votes. And for Stein, we have 8 votes, with a total of 452 votes.
At Red Top Elementary School, we have 253 votes for Hillary Clinton, 42 votes for Donald Trump, 11 votes for Gary Johnson, 15 votes for Stein, with a total of 321 votes. At Davis Elementary, we have 387 votes for Clinton, 98 votes for Donald Trump, 52 for Gary Johnson, and 55 for Stein, with a total of 592 votes. At Kilker Elementary School, we have 188 votes for Clinton, 42 votes for Donald Trump, 29 votes for Johnson, 77 votes for Stein, with a total of 336 votes.
All right, thank you very much for that exciting second update. And we are going to bring out our two new student broadcasters from our middle and high schools. And we're also going to have Cindy Weatherby here as well. She's with the League of Women Voters, and we're going to ask her some questions as well. So Braulio and Logan, thank you very much for an excellent broadcast and for all your work today. And let's welcome onto the set Maya and Maggie, as well as Cindy.
And thank you to our first set of student broadcasters. You are the first student broadcasters we've had in a mock election to date in Travis County. Okay, so you remember that. Thank you.
Yes, you guys did a great job. Thank you very much. So we have our secondary broadcasters. We have one from Keeling Junior High and one from Bowie High School. So let's start off first by introducing who our secondary broadcasters will be.
And I go to Bowie High School. I'm a sophomore, and I am involved in varsity debate club, Spanish club, and Key Club.
Hi, I'm Maggie Gillum. I go to Keeling Middle School. I'm involved with the Keeling Middle School news team and the presidential politics class.
Very good. So Maggie, you're like an expert then in what we're doing here this evening. Maggie, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing at Keeling in preparation for the mock election? I know you guys did polling earlier this week, but what can you tell the audience at home about some things you're doing over at Keeling?
Well, over at Keeling, all the kids in the presidential politics class, they were making posters, and we are putting out flyers all around Keeling to inform kids at Keeling about the options that they have to choose between U.S. representatives and the president. We also make larger posters giving some smaller but fun facts about the presidents, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Jill Stein, and Gary Johnson.
Very good. So at Keeling, you guys are taking this to a whole other level, not only looking at the presidential candidates, but also people's representatives, and that's excellent. Thank you for that. And Maya, what about your experience casting your first vote at Bowie High School? What can you tell us about what you did in preparation for that?
Well, for voting, we actually voted today for the mock election, and in class we voted via paper. We didn't do the online voting, and my teacher told us to always stay silent and be respectful when voting. So the class was silent for maybe 30 seconds. And then everyone already, by high school, you kind of know about the candidates and what they stand for. So, I mean, by a couple of seconds, everyone was ready to turn their paper in.
Okay, very good. So that was some fast voting over there at Bowie High School. And did you count the votes in your class, or did the votes go to a counting station?
The votes did go to a counting station.
Okay, very good. And do you know the results for Bowie? Or are you like everybody else? You're waiting to find out?
Like everybody else.
Okay, very good. Well, I have some questions for Cindy, and I'll let the two of you start off asking the questions. Maggie, do you want to start with the first one?
Sure. What is it like to cast your first vote?
You know, like Dana DeBevois, who was just here, I was able to cast my first vote a little earlier than I expected I'd be able to, because the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, I believe it was passed. Because you used to have to be 21 years old, and then it became 18 years old. And I got to choose who I wanted to vote for in my first election. I was a college student, pretty feminist in my outlook, and chose to write in a candidate that year, Shirley Chisholm, who was the first black congresswoman, and who actually was considered in the primary and won I think it was a non-binding referendum primary in New Jersey. So it was pretty exciting for me to be able to cast my vote for a woman for president, even though she didn't really make the results. She didn't get to the point that the current woman running for president was. But it was memorable, and that's what I would suggest. Your first vote is always memorable. And once you take that first vote, it's an inspiration to continue voting, because once you establish that tradition for yourself, it's something that's a little easier to keep up with.
Why is it important for children to know about voting?
You know, the first thing I'd have to say is that it matters. It affects every single thing that you do in your life, one way or another, because unlike previous governments that had a monarch, we, the people, rule ourselves. And the only people that can make that come to a positive conclusion are having people vote themselves. And it's really a disappointment when all the people aren't voting and taking advantage of that opportunity that we have. It's your right to vote, and it does matter. The only vote that doesn't matter is the one that's not cast. And you can understand that and learn more about that and be prepared when you're out there making those votes soon, very soon for you. But you can also remind your family and your friends that it's important to vote too. Sometimes grown-ups and all people get tied up in the things that they're working on or what they're doing, and they don't think that their vote matters. But it does matter, and they need to be reminded to go and vote, and how easy it is to vote. And it's your right to do it.
Why is the League of Women Voters involved in this?
The League of Women Voters came into being because women didn't have the right to vote until 1920. And the people that fought so hard to get that right to vote were called suffragettes. Those suffragettes worked really hard to be able to vote. And they wanted to make sure that after the law changed, after the Constitution was changed to allow women the right to vote, that they had that opportunity and it was enforced and that people actually did get out and vote. And we have continued throughout this time, continually here in Texas since 1919, as a League of Women Voters, who wants to make sure that everyone understands how to vote. We want to get people registered. We want to inform them about the candidates. And we want to be sure that they get to the polls. And one of the things that we do as a League of Women Voters is really emphasize the education part. You mentioned that you've been doing background and information about the candidates. That's what the League of Women Voters does about every candidate that's running in this election. It'll be available before early voting, the voter's guide that asks the same questions of each of the candidates in each race, so that you can compare and contrast what each of the candidates say in response to questions that are about the positions that they would be taking, and make up your own mind. And those voters' guides will be in the Austin American Statesman the day before early voting starts, and they'll also be available online. And then we also have a number of other partners that will make them available on a mobile platform called Think Voting's The Voter app. And I'd highly recommend, I know many of your fellow students have mobile phones or iPads or any other kind of mobile platform, so be sure and check that out. Also, they'll be available on the League of Women Voters website, lwvaustin.org. And we're involved because we believe that voting is an important thing to do. And we really think that the future of our country is the people that I'm looking at today. And you need to be participants in that as well.
Mindy, is there anything else you'd like to add outside of the questions that they had for you?
No, I don't think so. We're just really excited to be a partner with the county in so many different things underway this year. We've been part of the Youth Cam project, which is really exciting to see young people making public service announcements that maybe young people will watch. more than they might watch those made by other folks. We've particularly been appreciative of the First Vote program, where we go with the county to the high schools and talk about the importance of voting, how to vote, and then getting people registered there if they aren't already registered. We certainly suggest that everybody, when they turn 18, registers to vote. Our county has more people registered to vote than any other county in the state proportionately. Travis County is a great place to be a voter, and I know that our goal is 90% voter registration, but we really want to get a higher number of people using that registration card. As Dana said, you can, whether you have a photo ID that's listed as requirement, take that to the polls with you. But if you are an older voter and you don't have a photo ID, you can take a number of 5 or actually 7 different things to the polls with you that has your name and address, and you can prove who you are and you're a U.S. citizen. You're going to be voting.
Well, thank you, Cindy. We appreciate it. And I think we're going to take a little break now because we are about to have some more results come in.
Oh, how exciting.
And we're going to go straight to another PSA announcement. So you'll get to see some more of our winners from this past weekend. I'm telling you, we had some great entries, and we're really proud of all the schools that participated. So we'll move forward, and we'll be back with results.
What does it mean to move forward?
Thank you, Cindy. That was great.
Can we really decide what our future holds? Does my vote really make a difference? Can we move forward when it feels like everything is moving backwards? I believe we can move forward and make a difference. Do you? This election day, I hope you'll join me and vote.
And we're back with more results for the mock election. For Pleasant Hill Elementary School, with 361 votes, Secretary Clinton received 319 votes, Mr. Trump received 42, Mr. Johnson received 0, and Ms. Stein received 0 as well. For Brentwood Elementary School, a total of 443 votes. Secretary Clinton received 384 votes, Mr. Trump had 24, Mr. Johnson had 17, and Mrs. Stein had 18.
For Gillette Elementary School, there were the total amount of votes was 216. Out of those 216, Secretary Clinton got 173, Mr. Trump got 24, Mr. Johnson got 5, and Mrs. Stein got 14. Out of Oak Hill Elementary School, out of 705 votes, 466 were voted for Ms. Secretary Clinton, 101 voted for Mr. Trump, 78 voted for Mr. Johnson, and 60 voted for Mrs. Stein.
For Hart Elementary School, with a total of 650 votes, Secretary Clinton received 499, Mr. Trump received 71, Mr. Johnson received 46, and Mrs. Stein received 34. For Clayton Elementary, with a total of 795 votes, Secretary Clinton received 513, Mr. Trump received 162, Mr. Johnson received 79, and Ms. Stein received 41.
For Boma Overton Early College Prep Elementary School, there was a total amount of votes of 537. Out of those 537, Secretary Clinton got 416, Mr. Trump got 56, Mr. Johnson got 38, and Mrs. Stein got 27. Out of Boone Elementary School, there was 219 voters. Out of those voters, 164 voted for Mrs. Clinton, 25 voted for Mr. Trump, 19 voted for Mr. Johnson, and 11 voted for Mrs. Stein. Out of Hill Elementary, there is 946 voters. Out of those voters, 605 voted for Secretary Clinton, 128 voted for Mr. Trump, 124 voted for Mr. Johnson, and 89 voted for Mrs. Stein.
Well, thank you for that. We are about to welcome our next guest for this evening, John Ellis. John, if you'd like to come join us, have a seat. John is with the Texas Young Lawyers Association, and he has a special project that they are working on. And John, one of the first questions of all of the guests that our student broadcasters have been asking is, what was it like to cast your first vote?
It was empowering. I still remember, it wasn't necessarily a magical moment where you're going to always remember where you were, but I cast my first vote through an early voting, and I submitted it in through the mail. So it wasn't any glamorous event, but I remember my mom, I was very fortunate. My parents had always been very involved in our local community, and my mom made sure that I was registered as soon as I could be registered. And my first time I voted when I was 18, when I was in high school, and it was one of the first elections after 9/11 occurred. And so it's at a very high peak in our nation's history of patriotism, and it was just a great equalizing moment to realize that my vote matters just as much as the president's vote, just as much as my parents' vote. We're all on the same page when we vote. And that's one of the unique things about our republic, is that your vote matters just as much as everybody else.
Thank you. John, would you like to tell us a little bit about the program that you're involved in with your association and everything? So just to educate us a little bit more.
Absolutely. So I'm an attorney. I work here in Austin at a civil litigation firm. And here tonight, I'm representing the Texas Young Lawyers Association. And Texas Young Lawyers Association is a group of the young lawyers across the state of Texas. And we provide public service projects to educate the public about general legal issues as well as just general service projects. And one of the projects we put together a few years ago is called Vote America. And we are currently in the process of presenting this project across the state to high school students such as yourselves. And I urge the educators here, if you're interested in having us come and present to your schools, please contact me. Go to our website, which is www.tyla.org. You can look through our projects list. I think you'll find lots of projects that will be relevant to your students, but particularly the Vote America project. It consists of a short 30-minute film that we put together interviewing various folks who talk to you and educate your students about significant events in our nation's history that opened up the franchise, opened up the right to vote to a larger number of people. Because it's kind of hard for us to imagine now, but the right to vote it was not part of the initial Constitution. It was not one of the rights that was ingrained early on in our nation's history. And so there have been significant developments over the years, not the least of which was it was less than 100 years ago that women in this country did not have a right to vote. And so that program, I urge you to check it out. If you like for myself or other members of our board to come and present to your schools, we'd be happy to do so. And in conjunction with that, we're just urging the seniors and the students that are 18 or will be 18 at this election to register before October 11th so you can cast your first vote in this year's presidential election.
Well, John, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming and being with us. We're going to take a quick break and go to another set of PSAs, and then we'll be back because we have some more election returns that are about to come.
Este es un bote de basura. No parece importante hasta que necesitas un lugar para botar tu basura. Este es un voto y tu voz. Y este es un bote. No los confundas y no botes tu voto.
We all lead busy lives. One way to make life easier is to vote early. This presidential election will probably see the largest voter turnout in Travis County's history. What does that mean to the average voter? Simply put, waiting in line to vote. Make your life a little easier and vote early. The 12 days of early voting for the November 8 election begins Monday, October 24th and ends Friday, November 4th. Many early voting sites are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day except Sunday. By voting early, you can avoid long lines on Election Day. There are 30 early voting locations in Travis County, and you can vote anywhere you see a Vote Here, Vote Aquí sign. Some of the most convenient early polling locations are 4 mega voting sites, which will have more staff, voting booths, and free parking. To find the most convenient early voting location near you, visit our website at ivoteearly.com. Life is busy, vote early.
We're back with more results for the mock election.
The first school, Austin Can Academy, had a total vote of 254. 171 of those votes was received by Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump received 8 of those votes. Mr. Johnson received 69 votes, and Ms. Stein received 6. O. Henry Middle School with a total vote of 879. Secretary Clinton received 571 votes. Mr. Trump received 218. Mr. Johnson received 74, and Ms. Stein received 16.
Dobby Middle School, out of 480 votes, 426 of those votes were for Secretary Clinton, 23 of those votes were Mr. Trump, 21 of those votes were for Mr. Johnson, and 10 of those votes were for Mrs. Stein. For Murkison Middle School, out of 276 votes, there 155 were for Secretary Clinton, 68 were for Mr. Trump, 38 were for Mr. Johnson, and 15 were for Mrs. Stein.
For Covington Middle School with a total vote of 481, Secretary Clinton received 408 votes, Mr. Trump received 69, Mr. Johnson received 4, and Ms. Stein received 0. For Paredes Middle School with a total vote of 262, Secretary Clinton received 213, Mr. Trump received 35, Mr. Johnson received 9, and Ms. Stein received 5. For Martin Middle School with a total vote of 322, Secretary Clinton received 302, Mr. Trump received 13, Mr. Johnson received 6, and Ms. Stein received 1.
We have again with us Bruce Elfand, who is going to talk a little bit about the voter registration deadline and some of the activities of the plans for next Tuesday, because the deadline is fast approaching. In 1 short week from today, we will have a deadline upon us. So Bruce, what can you tell us a little bit about next Tuesday?
Sure, thank you. Well, the voter registration deadline is next Tuesday, October 11th at midnight, and if you're going to vote, you have to be registered. And if you have moved since you've registered, you need to update your address. So we're encouraging people to do that in the next week. Between now and October 11th, they can certainly come to the tax office and get voter registration cards and fill them out. We have volunteer deputy registers throughout the community at all public events. You can get cards at public libraries and post offices. And on the 11th, we will have volunteer deputy registrars at every Thundercloud sub, and there's 32 of them throughout Travis County from 10 to 10. We will have volunteer deputy registers at all Alamo draft houses from open till close, till the last movie is shown. And the tax office will be open till midnight. So we make this as easy as possible for our citizens to register and vote and participate in their democracy.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I have received notice that we have another round of results that are going to be coming momentarily. And as it always happens on Election Day, we have long lines, so we may have some results that may not be posted tonight, but they will be posted this week. So we will make sure of that. We're going to go run another set of PSAs because we have a lot of PSAs that are just wonderful and we want to show. We're going to go to those real quick, come back for another set of results, and see where we stand.
A box is just a box with thin sides. A top and a bottom, many shapes and sizes. A box is just a box that you can decorate or leave as is. Hollow on the inside, solid to the touch. A box is just a box until it becomes an opportunity to express your opinion and to protect your rights. Make that box your voice.
¿Sabía usted que los estudiantes de secundaria de 16 años de edad y mayores pueden trabajar como empleados electorales? Un estudiante que está inscrito en la escuela secundaria o la escuela en casa y tiene el permiso de su director de escuela puede trabajar en el día de la elección. Los estudiantes trabajan bajo la dirección de un juez de elecciones. Los estudiantes son entrenados para ayudar con la organización del sitio de votación y el procesamiento de los votantes. Hasta 4 estudiantes pueden trabajar en el mismo sitio de votación. Este es un trabajo remunerado y los estudiantes adquieren experiencia laboral práctica. Experiencia de trabajo electoral es una impresionante adición a una hoja de vida o aplicación para universidad. Para calificar como un empleado electoral estudiantil, el estudiante debe ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos y tener por lo menos 16 años de edad. Estar inscrito en una escuela de origen pública, privada o escuela en casa calificada. Y tener consentimiento de los padres y el consentimiento del director de la escuela. Para aplicar para ser un empleado electoral estudiantil, visita nuestro sitio web traviscountyelections.org para llenar la solicitud oficial de empleado electoral estudiantil y nota de permiso. Envíe su solicitud y nota de permiso firmada antes del 17 de octubre. Para más información, llame al 512-854-4996.
So we have one more question for you. How do you think participating in the mock election helps to encourage students who are 18 to vote?
Well, I certainly hope it does. I think that the more opportunities students have to understand the process and see how it works and see the results, hopefully will encourage students to make a lifelong habit of voting and participating in the democracy. And that includes speaking out at city council meetings and telling your elected officials what you're for and what you're not for. That's how our democracy is supposed to work. So I'm hoping that a lot of students are going to be motivated and engaged to become active in voting and in our civic affairs.
Bruce, they're going to read now some results. We'll talk a little bit more about voter registration once they're done, and wrap up with some final PSAs this evening. Thank you.
As the more results come in, we have Anderson High School, who had 1,393 votes. Out of those 1,393, 784 were for Secretary Clinton, 311 were for Mr. Trump, 162 were for Mr. Johnson, and 136 were for Mrs. Stein. Out of Bailey Middle School, there were 745 votes. Out of those 745, 431 were for Secretary Clinton, 182 were for Mr. Trump, 86 were for Mr. Johnson, and 46 were for Mrs. Stein.
For Bedichek Middle School with a total vote of 436, Secretary Clinton received 338, Mr. Trump received 26, Mr. Johnson received 56, and Ms. Stein received 16. For Burnett Middle School with a total vote of 777, Secretary Clinton received 547 votes, Mr. Trump received 173 votes, Mr. Johnson received 42, and Ms. Stein received 15.
At a Garza Independence High School, there was 129 votes. Out of those 129 votes, 84 were for Secretary Clinton, 9 were for Mr. Trump, 10 were for Mr. Johnson, and 26 were for Mrs. Stein. Out of Hyde Park High School, we have our first Trump school. There was 104 total votes. 16 were for Secretary Clinton, 77 were for Mr. Trump, 10 were for Mr. Johnson, and 1 was for Mrs. Stein.
For James Bowie High School, with a total vote of 1,184, 576 of those votes went to Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump received 280 votes. Mr. Johnson received 213, and Ms. Stein received 15. For Lago Vista High School, total vote of 64. Secretary Clinton received 12 votes. Mr. Trump received 35. Mr. Johnson received 9, and Ms. Stein received 8.
At Elainer High School, there was a total number of 704 votes. 555 were for Secretary Clinton, 30 were for Mr. Trump, 74 were for Mr. Johnson, and 45 were for Mrs. Stein. Out of Blasa High School, there was a total number of 762 votes. 461 were for Mrs. Clinton, 149 were for Mr. Trump, 95 were for Mr. Johnson, and 57 were for Mrs. Stein.
For LBJ Early College High School, with a total vote of 492, 389 of those votes went to Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump received 26 votes, Mr. Johnson received 43, and Ms. Stein received 34. For Small Middle School, with a total vote of 742, Secretary Clinton received 429 votes, Mr. Trump received 160 votes, Mr. Johnson received 90, and Ms. Stein received 63. For Travis High School, with a total vote of 896, Secretary Clinton received 683, Mr. Trump received 68, Mr. Johnson received 84, and Ms. Stein received 61.
So much for reporting all of those results. Bruce, can you tell us a little bit more about the numbers on voter registration so that people understand what kind of numbers we're talking about, the levels, and what our goal is for this cycle?
Well, sure. I guess I'll talk about the larger picture. Unfortunately, Texas is one of the lowest states in the country in terms of voter registration. Fortunately, Travis County is at one of the highest rates of all the counties, but we've never been at 90% registration. And we're just a few thousand votes short, or registered voters short, of achieving a 90% voter registration rate for the first time ever. And hopefully next week sometime we'll have an exciting announcement about that. But we want our residents to be registered, and we want them to be voting and participating in their democracy and their civic affairs.
Thank you. I think we're going to take a break right now. We'll come back for closing. We have some more PSAs that we'll be showing. We're wrapping up with the PSAs, but we want everybody to have an opportunity to see them.
This November, don't be invisible. Register, be counted, vote.
And we are back, and we're about to wrap up tonight. It appears that the long lines have once again gotten us, and we have some reports that I have not been able to come. So that's another indication that we should all vote early to prevent this from happening on Election Day. I do have Jessica. She's going to wrap up for us and thank all of our partners. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this evening for our live coverage of the mock election results with Travis County First Vote. I'd first like to begin by thanking our student broadcasters, Maya and Maggie and Braulio and Logan, for joining us here this evening. It was their first experience on live television, and they all did an excellent job reporting the results and interacting with some elected officials. So I appreciate their participation as well as their parents' participation this evening. I'd also like to thank our Austin ISD mock election coordinators on each campus. It's a huge job. Reading through emails, collecting ballots, deciding how you're going to have your students vote, getting students registered to vote. It's a lot to coordinate. It takes a lot of time, and I really, really appreciate all the hard work people put in today, not just the mock election coordinators, but campus principals, librarians, classroom teachers, student election workers, to make the results we have tonight happen and have them be available for us to see. I'd also like to thank Travis County for bringing the First Vote program to Austin ISD as well as to other schools in Travis County. This was a really great opportunity for students to interact with the issues and the candidates early on in election season, and also get excited about the voter registration process and voting, in the hopes that we'll have a really good turnout for the November 8th election. And finally, I'd like to thank Austin ISD Channel 22 for hosting us here this evening and providing so much support, making this mock election broadcast a reality. So thank you very much for joining us. And again, for Austin ISD teachers, check the AISD Social Studies website tomorrow for more information about the election, including the GIS map and returns for your school. Thank you and have a good evening.